Hey everyone, how's it going? My name's Connor and welcome back to another Black Ops Cold War video. Make sure to drop a like down below and subscribe for more if you do enjoy today's video. In my last video, we looked at an in-depth class setup for the MP5, and today I'm going to provide you guys with 5 tips and tricks to become better at Black Ops Cold War. I've decided this will be a 2-part mini-series, and I will drop another video later in the week addressing another 5 tips and tricks. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Tip number 1, counter the spam. Something I've noticed throughout numerous Call of Duty releases throughout the years is that the vast majority of players tend to stick with what they're been given, at least for the first week or so of release. This means that multiplayer matches are often dominated by spam techniques that come with the numerous starting classes. This is why it's important to identify the techniques being spammed by the majority of players and then work on a loadout that successfully counters them. Since spam techniques tend to change on a weekly basis, you'll have to be quite dynamic to stay on top. Launch week of Black Ops Cold War, for example, is dominated by UAV streaks and grenade spam. To successfully counter UAVs, you'll have to reach rank 17 to unlock the Ghost perk, which makes you invisible to enemy spy planes while moving, planting, defusing, or controlling Scorestreaks. You can also lessen the impact of enemy grenades at rank 20 by unlocking and equipping the Flakjack perk. Tip number 2, concentrate on being tactical. The days of running unpunished down the mid lane of a map and specializing in a running gun style to rise to the top appears to be gone, with Call of Duty having transformed into more of a tactical FPS. And although you can still play the way you want, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't at least look at the tactical equipment you could use to take advantage of the less informed. Equipping the stim shot in your tactical equipment slot, for example, is a great way to win gunfights, especially considering that time to kill has been increased dramatically. Having a sudden burst of health will not only keep you alive for much longer, but take your opponent by surprise. Just keep in mind that the enemy might be thinking the same thing, so don't stop shooting until those points flash up on your screen. Another great piece of tactical equipment is the field mic, which is far by the most useful field upgrade in the game right now. Having a recharge time of just over 3 minutes, it allows you to deploy a miniature ground UAV, which indicates enemies in its vicinity on your minimap. Considering that nobody seems to be running its counter perk, Ninja, it's a must in modes like Domination. On to the next tip. Tip number 3. Understand the new Scorestreak system. In an attempt to reward both objective play and traditional kills, Treyarch have developed a Scorestreak system which appears to be based on the support strike package from both Modern Warfare 3 and Ghost. Since your score won't be resetting on your death anymore, you'll find that Scorestreaks cost quite a bit more than you're used to. A thorough understanding of how this system works will ensure that you achieve these scores as soon as possible though. Like the older systems, you'll still be rewarded for staying alive with every successive kill per life, earning you more points than the last. Points can also be earned from completing objectives, but there is no multiplier attached to doing so in the same life. You should also keep in mind that each score streak comes with its own individual cooldown, so you can forget about calling in back-to-back attack helicopters. To take advantage of this system, try and rack up as many consecutive kills as possible without dying, and this is where you'll be earning the majority of your points. The multiplier mechanic is insanely powerful and almost necessary to reach the larger streaks. Also be sure to capture objectives whenever you can, but don't risk your life in doing so. Ending a kill streak with a large multiplier for a few extra points is not going to help your team after all, so wait for them to join you and even the odds. And tip number 4, adjust your score streaks to the map. Surprisingly enough, the score streaks you're given when you first boot up the game are pretty useful and will see you going far in life. But as you rank up and unlock more options to choose from, you'll feel the need to experiment and deviate from your comfortable choices. And although this is where the fun begins, it can also be your downfall. Not all score streaks were created equally. After all, with some being far better suited for specific types of maps in Cold War, there are essentially 2 types of maps. The first is an open map which concentrates on lateral cover and has little to no overhanging cover to worry about. A great example is Satellite, on which a score streak like the cruise missile will be very useful. Since you don't have to worry about players hiding away in buildings to avoid the trio of missiles, you'll pick up quite a few kills each time. Closed maps, on the other hand, are comprised of a number of buildings which allow for camping and the avoidance of score streaks like the cruise missile. On maps like these, choosing the war machine makes more sense, which is spread of explosive rounds being capable of wiping out a team of campers in the blink of an eye. So choose your score streaks carefully and cater them to the map you're playing. And on to the last tip, tip number 5, put a spring in your step. For quite some time, Call of Duty multiplayer matches have been plagued by the subtle art of drop-shotting, which can be described as the act of going prone shortly after firing the first shot in the gunfight. To combat this annoying habit, Treyarch has changed the gameplay mechanic by taking the player out of ADS for a few moments while going prone, causing bullet spray to increase drastically. Since aim is half the battle, drop-shotting has taken a significant hit and only remains viable when in close proximity to an enemy. But this is Call of Duty, where fans are forever looking for the next big exploit to get the upper hand. And as it turns out, players have discovered that there is no accuracy penalty attached to the act of jumping, which is why jump shotting has now replaced the earlier strategy of dolphin diving to the ground. Doing the same while this exploit remains in place is definitely a viable strategy, especially around corners where you have the opportunity to take enemies by surprise. From a defensive standpoint, expect enemies to be jump shotting as much as possible and get ready to flick your aim up rather than down as a resultant. Well guys, that has been my top 5 tips and tricks in getting better at Black Ops Cold War. And remember, this is a 2-part series, as I will drop a second video sometime this week addressing 5 more tips and tricks. If you did enjoy today's video and want to see more Black Ops Cold War content, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more. If you have any recommendations on anything you'd like to see from me, then make sure to drop a comment. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.